Yes, indeed. It's about time for us to take a quick look at what's happening on the covers of the dailies this morning. Let's see which newspapers we have this morning. Winfrey is here with me to check it out.
Hi.
All right, let's start with the Guardian newspaper, shall we? It says, Autonomy. Why local governments have not escaped powerful clasp of governors. Now, it also says there, just beside the major headline, arrested vessels cost Navy $10,000 daily in maintenance. Cardoso links inflation to failed 10 trillion naira intervention funds, CBN overdrafts. Nigerians' confidence in anti-graft war dwindling, it says here. It's a story on page 7. Morplex boss rallies support for pay TV sector, hails reps. And on minimum wage, Tinubu labor leaders parley inconclusive to continue next week. Graft charges, Ganduje, wife, others to face trial in October. And filthy abattoirs, unhygienic meat processing spike dire health concerns. Wow. Okay, so there's a photo there, animation, or should I call it an illustration there, and it does sort of describe feeding the nation from the underbelly of Nigeria's meat market there. That's actually been a concern for me for many, many years. The way I used to see my parents purchase meat when I was younger from, you know, the guys that hawk the meats in big metal bowls, you know, I always used to have those challenges. Because of the amount of flies and everything I used to see. And then I visited an abattoir, just the edge of one, and the smell almost drove me insane. I used to think about the fact that this is where meat for thousands of people in whatever community it is get their produce from. That's where they get their meat from, you know. And in terms of unhygienic conditions, we all say, yeah, we're always cooking it. We cook the meat through, right? But not all of those pathogens, germs, and all that are killed through that process, especially if, for instance, it's left out for a while. But I'm wondering, have you ever had that experience before? Have you been to one of those
No, of
places?
course. I have been to several abattoirs at several times, and I think even the meat kilishi, I think that is why I'm still pretty skeptical about eating it, because, I mean, this is meat that is killed in these abattoirs we're talking about. And then, of course, the other processing that actually goes through it, the beating, the drying, all of that. So you don't definitely supervise all of that. Despite the fact they tell you, okay, fine, there are other methods they use to preserve and make sure that, fine, there are no bacteria and everything. However, for meat, I think in the end, as I will always say, the onus is on you, the consumer, to literally make sure you do everything you probably can do to just make sure that what you're eating is safe, because of course you cannot necessarily control to an extent. But of course that's definitely going to be on the market sellers' part to literally make sure. But then again, now that everybody's trying to make ends meet and just doing what they can to just quickly get their cash, I don't think they're paying so much attention to that, even if they should. However, so when you buy the meats, please do everything you can. If you need to wash with salt before you boil it, and when you boil it, please boil it properly, because of course boiling anything at to the required level of heat should definitely get any germ there.
We have to move on to
the next paper. And here we have the Punch. And for the major headlines here, we have LG funds. Federal government floors governors as Supreme Court outlaws caretaker EXCO joint accounts. We have that on page 2. For the writers, we have preventing democratically elected administration in local government, unconstitutional Supreme Court. We have Tinubu, NLC, NULGE, others hail judgments, ex-Ogun LG chair, Lord's president. At the top of the paper there we have FGIOCs agree on crude supplies to Dangote local refineries. We have that on 27. So that is definitely a move in the right direction, finally. To the right of that, we have public officials received 721 billion naira bribe in 2023. We have that on NBS report on page 27. To the right of that, we have 33 billion naira fraud. Ex-power minister collapses before trial, remanded in prison. We have that on page 7. We've had quite a lot of that happening recently. To the image there below, we have minimum wage to Tinubu labor talks adjourned till next week. That's on page 20. UK University reviews fees for Nigerian students facing expulsion. We have that on page 7. Lagos Marwa operator hangs self over tricycle seizure. We have that on page 4. To the right, we have PDP alleges contempt as Datawa appoints council caretakers on page 40.
Yeah. There are quite a lot of stories on the headlines presently. And of course, we are going to be following most of these stories in subsequent bulletins. One of the key ones there that we're looking out for is where this conversation with labor is going, what the minimum wage conversation is going to lead to. Then, of course, the varsity students in the UK who could be, expelled because of the fees. It's a scary thought after all that sacrifice.
Of course.
All right, then we have to take a quick break. There's still so much more. Thanks, Winnie, for joining me on this one.
Thank you, too.
We have quite a bit more coming your way on Wake Up Nigeria.